Hello! This is going to be a nice simple tutorial on how to handle games with more than one disc in ESDE. Now, if you've loaded multiple disc games to ESDE, you'll know that it tends to come with all of them listed as separate categories, which can be a little bit annoying, and also you have to make a playlist file, an M3U file, to send to the emulator, and they don't always play ball. So for DuckStation and the PS1 games, that wasn't too bad. However, Dolphin, for Wii and GameCube games, gave me no amount of issues. So what I've done is I've put something together. I've knocked up a little script, so I'll just demonstrate now. This will be available on GitHub, on my GitHub. I'll send you a link in the description. So here is my ROMs folder. So in this ROMs folder, I've got the script I've written. So there's two files. The .bat file is just for Windows, and the shell script, that's for Mac and Linux. You will need a PC to do this, by the way. I'm assuming you have one already, where you were storing your ROMs initially. So if we look in here, we can see, so I've got my nice legally acquired ROMs in my PlayStation folder there, and then I've got a couple of games in here, multi-disc GameCube games, RVZ files. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this batch file, and it's going to pop up your command prompt. So the first thing it's going to ask you, and this is something I briefly covered in my splitting the ROMs folder guide. So the first thing it's going to ask is your ESD storage on your internal or external storage? If it's internal, great, it'll point it straight to the right file. If it's external, you'll need to provide your SD card ID. I'll show you how to get that momentarily. Mine's internal, so we'll stick with internal for now. So I'm just going to enter choice 1 and then hit enter. It's going to scan through all the folders. So you need to put this script in your ROMs folder, but not inside any system folders. It will scan through all the files. If it finds any games with disc or disc in brackets or CD, anything like that, it's going to know they're multi-disc games. So it only takes a second. I haven't got that many, but if you've got loads, it'll probably take just a little while longer. So now, if I go into my PlayStation folder, you'll see it's condensed all those discs down into these M3U folders. So M3U files are normally playlist files. However, there's a bit of a quirk with ESDE where if you have a folder that ends M3U, it will treat it as one game. So you don't need to manually go in and hide the other discs, because that is the way I used to do it, and it was very cumbersome. So I got fed up and I thought I'll just build something. So if I go into here, so Resident Evil 2, so we've got the disc 1, disc 2 there, and we've also got our M3U file. And if I go over to GameCube, you can see we've got the GameCube ones as well. So they do technically work a little bit differently. So for DuckStation, it will just read an M3U file. It uses relative paths. So it knows you've given me this file, I'm going to look in the same folder. Dolphin works a little bit differently. You have to give it the full file, which is why you needed to provide your SD ID if you're using external storage. So I won't bore you to death with that, but that's the reason why. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use FileZilla, my FTP client. There's my Thor. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to log in remotely to my Thor. I did cover this it's actually the first video I did with regards to the Thor. I have to enable it. So you can see here, so I've got Solid Explorer. There we go. So I'm going to go to the FTP server, and I'm just going to enable it. So like I said, I covered it in my first video. However, if you're not familiar with FTP, I'm just going to use the server address on the right hand side is my host, and then the port is the letters after the colon. So if I type in 192.168.0.7 and then the port 9999 and then enter, it'll open up. I'll just shift you out the way. I'll tell you what, I'll hide that for now and I'll come back to that. So this is the root storage of my Thor. So I'm going to go to my ROMs folder. And first I'm going to drag this here. want to find GameCube first. So you see I've got some games in here already, but no multi-disc ones. So I'm just going to drag those two folders. Make sure you drag the full folder in, because like I said, the way ESDE reads them, it will treat it as a single game that it'll pass to Dolphin, and then it'll automatically open it up. And Dolphin also has a very cool feature where it will automatically change the discs for you at the relevant point. So I think in Twin Snakes, it'll be when you first get to the hangar where Metal Gear Rex is. I think it's the same point as it is on the PlayStation. It's been a while since I played Twin Snakes. So whilst this is transferring over, I'm just going to queue up my PlayStation games. So I'm going to make sure I drag those into the right folder. So I've already got Final Fantasy VIII and Metal Gear Solid in there. I was doing some testing. So I'm just going to drag these four over as well. Queue those up. And if you've never used FileZilla before, it's a very simple client. I recommend it. Like I said, I covered it in my first video about transferring games remotely. You can also just drag them over USB, but I'm currently using my USB to screen record, so that's not going to be very good. So just whilst this is transferring, I'm going to show you how to get your SD card ID. So let's have a look at the Thor screen. So if you watched my video about splitting ROMs across internal and external storage, you'll have seen this, that I have an SD card in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to it won't let you do it if you're on the root of the SD card. But if you open a folder, I'm just going to open the Documents folder. And then if I press and hold where it says Documents and I copy path, you'll get this little pop-up in the corner, which is what you've copied. So there it is, 3338-6664. That's my SD card ID. So I'm going to hide that again. And then if I go back to my script, it won't do anything because I've already processed those files. So if you have already processed files, if files are inside a folder, it will ignore it ends M3U. It'll just ignore them. So you can add games at any time, run the script again. It won't redo the ones it's already done. So this time, I'm going to type external storage. I'm going to get this prompt. Please enter your SD card ID. And then I've put that you can find it in the file manager and then the format. So you have to make sure you have that dash in there as well. So it's 4 characters dash 4 characters. So 3338-6664 and press enter. So if I'd have done this first time rather than internal storage, all it does is, for those of you not aware, M3U file is the playlist file. It just has a list of the discs that it's referring to. With Dolphin needing the full path, rather than it say, I think it's like storage /0/emulated, which is static across all Thors, the SD card, because the ID varies, this basically allows it to pass to the M3U file. So when you open your games in ESDE, it knows to pass them to Dolphin correctly, and hopefully they won't break. So I am going to flip to the Thor screen, and I'm going to shrink it again. You can see my lovely sleep-deprived face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this bit out, and I will see you momentarily once all these have transferred over, and I'll show you how it looks inside ESDE. See you soon. Okay, so there we are. Welcome back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head over to ESDE. So do make sure that if you've had ESDE open, like I have, that it's fully closed. Otherwise, it won't scan the new ROMs that we've just added. So I'll open up ESDE. Give that a moment. Now, first, if I go to PlayStation and I scroll down, you should see, if I remember which games I've added. So Evil Dead, for example, is a 2-disc game. So it hasn't yet been scraped, so I'll do that later. So if I open that up, even though it's a 2-disc game, it's going to pass it straight into DuckStation, and there we are, that's opened it up. So that's the easy one. So on DuckStation, if you swipe in from the left and then change disc, you can see there that it's got both discs. If I change the disc 2, I think it'll just shout at me. Well, it'll load it, but when I get into the game, it'll shout at me. So we'll exit out of that for now. So now, and I'm not going to lie, a little nervous because it worked when I did it before, but as we all know, this is the point where it fails. So for those of you who have tried multi-disc GameCube games in ESDE and found they've failed, hopefully this now works. I'm not a religious man, but I am praying. There we go. So it's opened straight away. So again, if you press the back button, you can change the disc manually here. So with Dolphin, it just gives you the options there, but it'll point you to the right file. And then, oh, I've closed out of it. Didn't mean to do that. I'll open it back up again. So I managed to finally suss out how it handles the file paths, and didn't get much sleep last night because of it. It was it took a while, but it seems to work. And like I said, I'm pretty sure Dolphin has the feature where we'll automatically change disc at the relevant point. So the link will be in the GitHub for this, so do try it out. Like I said, it's something I've built, so it might be full of bugs. If you do come across any bugs, then please either let me know in the comments or you can comment on the GitHub. I always try and respond to people as best as I can. So, yeah, if this helped you out, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. I'm pleased to, again, celebrate that I've crossed that 1,000 subscriber threshold. So, YouTube sent me a thing and I've enabled some super thanks and super chats, and I'll be honest, I haven't a clue what most of it is. I'm still learning, but that's all there. So yeah, thank you so much for your support over these past few weeks. It's really been incredible, and there'll be plenty more to come. So keep asking the questions, keep requesting the videos, tell your friends, and I will see you next time. Bye.